How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? It's Jerry. I just want to bring you guys a quick video showing some things I learned about the pellet spread and the shotguns and how they are actually a little bit more complex than you might think. So everybody in the game knows, for the most part, that the whole gimmick of the triple take is that its pellet spread is tightened when you aim down sight. So what that does is it creates this gimmick where the gun's kind of a shotgun and a sniper rifle, like this. And you can see with the dot representation of the pellet spread how it differs. Now the thing is, this actually is the case for every single shotgun. The pellet spread is different depending on whether or not you are aiming down sight. And right now I just want to quickly show you the differences so you can see for yourself. Because if you want to get the tightest spread possible at all times to maximize the number of pellets you're hitting in order to do the most damage, then this will be important to you. So I want to start by categorizing the shotguns into two categories. For the first category is going to be the Mozambique and, believe it or not, the Mastiff, because they function the same. And the other two will be the Peacekeeper and the Auto Shotty. Now I'll have little text and image pop-ups on the screen so you can see up close the difference in the spread size. The images are blown up, but they are scaled to one another accurately 1-to-1, so that'll show you the differences. But let me just quickly give you an example. So if I do not aim down sight, that's what it looks like, and if I do, it's going to be tighter. This is really important, especially for the Mozambique, because if you have this gun early game and you need to use it, having the tightest spread possible and maximizing its already pretty pitiful damage and magazine size will help you significantly. This actually is the same for the Mastiff. If it's a little bit harder to see up close, but if you shoot from far range, you can tell. See, that's what it looks like when you're not aiming, and then the center of the spread is actually a little bit tighter. I can prove this by standing back here, and if I don't aim down sight, 72 damage per shot. If I do, 108. So something is different. The center of the spread is a little bit tighter when you're aiming than when you are not. One other thing about the Mastiff that's interesting is that the reticle, the crosshair for the Mastiff, actually pretty accurately shows you where the pellets are going to go, which is important for the Mastiff because it's got this long horizontal spread of pellets. As far as, like, if I show you long range, you can see it's just this horizontal line of pellets, and it's important to know how many of those pellets are going to hit at what ranges, because if you're not hitting them all, then you're kind of wasting the Mastiff's potential. Sure, you might still be doing 50-60 damage a shot, but you could do that with other guns more easily. So if you're going to take this weapon and it's limited ammo and it's limited magazine size, you should be able to tell how many of your pellets are going to hit. So if you pay attention, if I shoot at this range, pellets line up pretty perfectly within the hipfire reticle, right? Now what's interesting is if I aim it, it actually still lines up in the new reticle that you get when you aim down sight. And what's even more interesting is that this is accurate pretty much any range. It'll give you a pretty accurate representation of how wide your spread or your pellet spread is going to be by the time it reaches whatever target you're aiming at, even so much as to the ground in front of you. Just good to note when you're lining, especially longer range shots, if you can aim down sight and line up a long range shot, you can do some pretty nasty damage with the Mastiff. Of course, bear in mind these targets are way bigger than most hitboxes in the game, but it does make a pretty significant difference and could mean the difference between you winning or losing that fight. So the interesting thing though is, since both of these guns effectively function kind of like the triple take, obviously not as drastically, but they do. The interesting thing is the Peacekeeper and the Auto Shotty actually do the opposite. So what happens is when you aim down sight with the Peacekeeper, that's what your spread looks like. When you don't, it's actually tighter. So if you can pay attention to the spread, it's actually slightly tighter. Again, the image on screen will show this more in depth, or it'll make it easier to see. But it's definitely a thing. So if you have a target that's running away from you and you want a tighter spread, you actually shouldn't aim down sight, which is kind of interesting. Same thing with the Eva-8, if not a little bit more so. So this pretty much completely negates the reason to ever ADS a Peacekeeper or an auto shotty, I guess, unless you just absolutely need to dial it in as far as like increasing your FOV that like 2 or 3 degrees when you aim down sight, or maybe more if you have a reticle on. But, or, you know, I guess if you have the choke on the Peacekeeper, that's different. But as far as just firing the weapons normally, you should pretty much always hip fire the Peacekeeper and the Eva-8, and you should always ADS the Mastiff and the Mozambique to maximize the tightness of your pellet spread and maximize your damage. But anyway, guys, if you like the video, please like and subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications. Leave down in the comments whether or not you already knew this. I kind of just figured this out. I already knew, obviously, the triple take, and as well as the Mozambique. I had just recently discovered that it did that, and I figured I'd test the other shotguns and see just whether or not that mechanic persists throughout all the shotguns, and it turns out it does. So this is all good to know. But anyway, if you enjoy the video, please like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Later.